you live, and if they want to, they can ask questions. I'm live today with Gussie Baker.
Okay.
She's on the phone with me. And if you'd like to ask a question as we talk, please let us know. We'll be happy to ask Gussie that question and see if she can provide an answer. We're talking about the centennial, the 100th anniversary of Punta Gorda that took place in 1987. And then we're going to cover some other topics. So here we go. Okay, Gussie, tell us a little bit more about the centennial celebration. I remember you told me that where you got the idea for some of your events. You want to talk about that a little bit?
You mean the idea for the thing?
Yes, some of the things that you did that year.
Well, what we did is we thought about what would make Punta Gorda look very good and it would be successful, because when we were done, we wanted everybody to know, no matter what county you lived in, hey, Punta Gorda was a pretty special place to be. And so that's how we did it. We thought, now what would this be? And it was amazing how we attracted other cities. We even had people come down from Tampa to some of our celebrations. And it was pretty neat. And we had a lot of support. That's another thing that we had. All the clubs in Charlotte County and people in Fort Charlotte, they were on the committee. And we made this something that people just absolutely weren't going to forget.
Wow, wow. So what other things happened that year that were really cool or different that you'd like to share with our Facebook audience as well?
Yeah, oh yeah. We had a fair in February where the Conquistador landed in their celebration, and that was really a big thing. And we did a Rosie O'Grady night, and in April we had a parade of Old Timers Day and a fish fry and a carnival on top of it.
Well, that sounds like a lot of fun.
Then we had then on the 5th we also had a community church service at Gilchrist Park and 2 hours of gospel music. And I'm telling you, that was awesome.
How awesome.
Really awesome.
I see Cathy Nash is listening in. Maybe she'd like to ask a question. You're free to ask questions if you'd like. Go ahead, Gus.
Okay. Then on April the 6th, we did a walking art show and a walking flower show. And we just kept going. And then on April the 8th, we had a quilt show and a tea and a golf tournament. So the men had something that they could be doing or would like to be doing. And then the funniest thing we did was on April the 9th, we had a kangaroo court and a pageant.
That sounds funny.
Yeah, the kangaroo court got a lot of laughs, and it got a lot of attention. And then we decided, well, we got to do something else. So we did another barbecue in Gilchrist Park. We used Gilchrist Park because he was such a fantastic person.
We wanted to talk a little bit about that. I'm going to segue a little bit to that in Gilchrist Park and its meaning to you over time. Gilchrist was an important person, right? In Punta Gorda?
Yes, Gilchrist was. Yes, he was. He was a fantastic person. And I think one of the biggest days ever in Punta Gorda was the day he was elected governor. Everybody was so excited and so proud of the fact that he did that, because, it's not that he just did things here. He was quite a good Mason, and he established the Florida Masonic Home for children and an orphanage in St. Pete. That was an unbelievable thing that man paid for to do. He was just a number one. Well, he did a lot of things for Punta Gorda.
He set aside some money in his will for ice cream for children too, didn't he, Gussie?
Oh yeah, yeah. When he passed away, he left a huge amount to the Masons, so they would have ice cream for all the children of Punta Gorda, and he left that to the children of Punta Gorda, no matter where you came from, who you were, what color you were. It was for everybody. When he got along with everybody.
When you were a kid, did you celebrate Halloween here with the ice cream?
Yes, Yes, I did. And what we had to do, we didn't have to do it, but we all did it. Everybody went out and picked flowers that day. And we'd take the flowers and put them in a container when we got the ice cream so that they could take them to Indian Springs Cemetery the next day and put it on Governor Gilchrist graveside. And we were all proud to do that. That's not all either. He loved flowers. He loved them. He left $5,000 to the city of Punta Gorda to buy flowers to plant, to put all around town. He just was a very thoughtful person.
How did you react when there was a discussion about renaming the park from Gilchrist Park?
I think that would be the biggest mistake anybody ever made. The Gilchrist Park is the perfect name for that park, and it needs to stay that.
Yeah,
we need to leave it alone.
Yeah, there have been a lot of things that have happened in that park over the years, I bet. Right?
Yes, there is.
Yeah.
The Rotary Club used to have fish fries in September every year. They had mullet, and it was packed with people in September down there at the mullet fry. And that went on for years and years. And then there's other things that went on. We had Little League down there where the kids played baseball, and they had men's softball field down there where grown men that couldn't play baseball could play softball. So there was just always something. And of course, the best thing was the sunset you could see out of Gilchrist Park.
Oh, they're still beautiful. Yeah, they're still beautiful.
And you can still do that.
Yeah,
still do that.
Yeah, that's still beautiful. That's still beautiful. Well, I was going to ask you. We were talking about the Centennial, and also the fact that you've lived in Punta Gorda all your life, correct? Or did you move here
Yes,
when?
You're correct. You're correct.
Did you move
If you know
here?
where Cubby's is, if you know where Cubby's is, you know where I was born.
That's wild. Because Gilchrist lived originally on that street as well when he moved here. His office was there, and he had an apartment there.
Yes.
So you were right near his original place. What else was on that street when you were a little girl on that area of Marion, near where Covey's is today?
Yeah, there was a lot of things that went on in that street. Oh my gosh, yeah. Where the Catholic Church is now. I mean, not the church, but across the street from it. The McQueen's house was sitting there, and they had a huge field in the back where it had ponies and a couple cows, but mostly horses. We rode horses and on Cross Street down there on that property it was something else. In fact, I never will forget the day Baby L threw me across the fence.
Who threw you across the fence? Who was it that threw you across the fence? Who threw you across the fence?
Baby L.
Who was that?
Baby L, the pony. It was a pony.
Oh.
Started running and stopped at the fence, and away I went in the air.
That's funny. That's funny. That's funny.
It is. But we didn't care. We'd go right back and do it again.
Wow. Wow. Well, I want to cover a little bit more about Marion Avenue before we wrap up, because there's lots of topics we could cover, but we'll save that for another time. But Marion Avenue, at the time you were growing up, what other shops were there? Do you recall?
Oh yeah, there was Seward. There was Elmer Oswald's store for men, and that was on the corner of Sullivan and Marion, and then right next to it was Charles Johnson's office, and then Governor Gilchrist's office was right there. And then when you were going down Marion and you crossed Sullivan, the movie theater was right there on the left, and everybody went to the movie theater that the desk ones ran. And there was and before you got there, next to Governor Gilchrist's office was a bowling alley.
Okay, let me ask you about that. We recently got a question about the Ace, where the Ace hardware store is today. What was there back in the 30s and 40s? If you
Hotel. You mean across from Ace? That was
no, right
hotel.
where the Ace hardware store is today. What was at that location when say in the 40s, if you recall?
Well, the Ace Hardware, that building is still there. That was there then, and it was a plumbing store.
Okay, so it's always kind of been that kind of a store.
That was Blanton's Plumbing.
Okay.
But right across was the Princess Hotel. But there were stores underneath there on the Princess. On the corner, the most was the when you sent a telegram office was there.
In the
Next
Princess
to the
Hotel.
telegram office.
In the hotel itself. Yeah.
Yeah. Telegram office. There was a men's barber shop, Seward's clothes store where they had men and women's clothes in there. And then we had a drugstore. A Parker's drugstore was there. And when you stay at Parker's drugstore, look across the street and you saw the Seminole Pharmacy. And all kinds of things. Everybody met at the Seminole Pharmacy. And I can remember when Al came. I went in there one day and Al was sitting there drinking a Coke. And I said, "What happened to you?" And he was in a cast from his neck to his hip. He just got home from Korea. And I said, "What happened to you?" He said, "Well, it's like this. I'll tell you if you'll believe me." I said, "I'll believe whatever you say." And so he told me about, he went on a 8-man look. They had to go up a mountain and make sure nobody was there. And so they did, and they got captured by the North Koreans. And all of a sudden this man said, "Boy, where are you from?" And he said, "What's it to you?" He said, "I know no one else." That's what he said. And then, because his dad was a cowboy for Mr. AC. But Al said, I said, "Boy, where are you from?" He said, "Well, if you must know, I'm from Murdoch, Florida." He said, "Son, you just saved your life. During World War II, I was stationed in Venice, used to fish on the El Jabin Bridge, and I know right where Murdoch, Florida is. You got to go there to get through to Punta Gorda." How about that?
That's a great story. Well, we're gonna wrap it up for today because I don't want to keep these individual things too long, because we're going to store them on our cloud and as different topical areas so that someday in the future someone might want to hear your voice and hear you talk about these things. So we'll do some other ones some other day, Gussie. Thank you so much for calling in, and we'll be talking again.
You just have a great day.
You too. Bye now.